Welcome everyone. Today we are going to dive deep into the world of cinematic editing. By the end of this course, you will understand how professional editors create those high-energy edits that dominate TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and movie fan edits. Many beginners believe great edits come from expensive plugins. Some people think professionals have secret presets. Others believe editing is simply about stacking effects together. The reality is very different. The truth is that great editing is built on rhythm. It is built on timing. It is built on visual storytelling. And most importantly, it is built on understanding how viewers react emotionally to movement. Every successful cinematic edit follows the same principle. The editor is translating music into visuals. When a beat hits, something should happen. When the music builds, tension should increase. When the music drops, the visuals should explode with energy. The audience should not simply hear the music. They should feel it through the movement of the video. That is the core purpose of cinematic editing. Before we open After Effects, let's discuss mindset. Most beginner editors spend too much time looking for effects. Professional editors spend most of their time studying timing. A simple zoom placed perfectly on a beat will feel stronger than 20 random effects placed at the wrong moment. A clean speed ramp synchronized with the music will feel more professional than a complicated transition that has no rhythm. The first thing you must learn is that editing is not about software. Editing is about decision-making. The software is only the tool. You could give the same footage to 10 different editors. Every editor would create something different. The difference comes from taste. The difference comes from timing. The difference comes from experience. When viewers watch an edit, they are reacting emotionally. Most viewers do not understand keyframes. Most viewers do not know what motion blur is. Most viewers cannot identify speed ramping. But they can feel when something looks good. They can feel when something looks smooth. They can feel when something feels powerful. That emotional reaction is what we are trying to create. Now let's discuss footage selection. Footage is the foundation of every edit. Even the best editor cannot completely save bad footage. When selecting clips for a cinematic edit, look for moments with movement. Movement creates opportunities. A character turning their head. A fighter throwing a punch. A car drifting through a corner. A hero walking toward the camera. A dramatic facial expression. These moments naturally create energy. Energy is what allows us to build visual rhythm. Static footage is more difficult to edit because there is less motion to enhance. When reviewing footage, ask yourself one question. What is the most powerful frame in this scene? Every clip usually has one moment that stands above the rest. It might be an emotional reaction. It might be an explosion. It might be a dramatic reveal. That moment is often where your strongest beat should occur. Now let's talk about music selection. Music is the engine of the edit. Without strong music, even beautiful footage can feel boring. The first thing to identify is the structure of the song. Most cinematic music follows a predictable pattern. The introduction creates atmosphere. The build-up creates anticipation. The drop creates impact. The climax creates maximum energy. Understanding these sections allows you to plan your edit before placing a single clip. A common mistake beginners make is editing randomly from start to finish. Professionals analyze the music first. They listen multiple times. They identify every major beat. They identify every transition. They identify every dramatic moment. Only then do they begin editing. Inside After Effects, create a composition. Import your footage. Import your soundtrack. Place the music on the timeline. Before touching any footage, listen carefully. Close your eyes if necessary. Focus entirely on the rhythm. You are not listening as a casual listener. You are listening as an editor. Your job is to identify opportunities. Every beat is an opportunity. Every bass hit is an opportunity. Every drum strike is an opportunity. Every transition in the music is an opportunity. After identifying these moments, begin placing markers. Markers are one of the most important organizational tools in professional editing. Many beginners ignore them. That is a mistake. Markers allow you to visualize the structure of the music. When you zoom into the timeline later, you already know where every important moment is located. This dramatically increases editing speed. As you become more experienced, you will begin recognizing patterns in music. You will notice that not all beats deserve the same visual response. Some beats are strong. Some beats are weak. Some beats are transitional. Strong beats deserve major visual changes. Weak beats deserve subtle movement. Understanding this difference is one of the secrets of professional editing. Now let's discuss beat synchronization. This is where cinematic editing truly begins. Synchronization means matching visual events to audio events. A visual event can be anything. A cut. A zoom. A flash. A shake. A transition. A speed ramp. The goal is to make the audience feel that the visuals and music are connected. When synchronization is perfect, viewers often describe the edit as satisfying. That feeling comes from rhythm. Human brains naturally enjoy patterns. When visuals consistently match audio, the brain receives a sense of completion. That is why beat synchronization is so powerful. There is another important concept called anticipation. Many beginners place every cut exactly on the beat. Sometimes this works. Sometimes it does not. Professional editors often place the visual event 1 or 2 frames before the beat. This technique tricks the brain into perceiving stronger impact. The visual movement begins slightly before the sound arrives. When the sound hits, the brain combines both events into a single powerful experience. This technique is used extensively in movie trailers and professional music videos. Now let's move into speed ramping. Speed ramping is one of the most recognizable techniques in modern editing. At its simplest level, speed ramping means changing playback speed over time. Instead of a clip playing at one constant speed, the speed increases or decreases dynamically. This creates energy. This creates emphasis. This creates excitement. The first step is enabling time remapping. Time remapping allows us to control playback speed using keyframes. Think of keyframes as instructions. Each keyframe tells After Effects where the clip should be at a specific moment. By changing the spacing between keyframes, we change playback speed. When keyframes are close together, the clip moves quickly. When keyframes are farther apart, the clip moves slowly. The most important part of speed ramping is identifying the action point. The action point is the exact frame where the most important movement occurs. For example, a punch connecting with an opponent. A character opening their eyes. A weapon being drawn. A superhero landing. These moments create natural impact. The speed ramp should usually focus around these moments. Place one keyframe before the action. Place another keyframe after the action. Then compress the distance between them. This increases speed. The clip accelerates through the action moment. Immediately after the action, allow the clip to slow down again. This creates contrast. Contrast creates drama. Without contrast, speed changes feel meaningless. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is creating linear speed ramps. Real movement is rarely linear. Cars do not accelerate instantly. People do not stop instantly. Everything in nature follows curves. That is why we use the graph editor. The graph editor is where average edits become professional edits. Inside the graph editor, you can shape acceleration and deceleration. Instead of robotic movement, you create organic movement. Imagine a sports car leaving a traffic light. It begins slowly. Acceleration increases. Maximum speed is reached. Then the driver releases the accelerator. The car gradually slows down. This natural motion is exactly what we want in our edits. When shaping speed curves, avoid harsh corners whenever possible. Smooth curves generally create more cinematic results. Sharp curves create aggressive energy. The choice depends on the style of the edit. Action edits often benefit from aggressive curves. Emotional edits often benefit from smoother curves. Another important technique is combining speed ramps with cuts. Many professional editors hide cuts inside speed ramps. The viewer is distracted by movement. As a result, transitions feel smoother. This technique is especially useful when combining clips from different scenes. The audience notices motion instead of continuity changes. Now let's discuss zoom animations. Zooms are everywhere in modern editing. A zoom creates focus. A zoom directs attention. A zoom increases intensity. The simplest zoom uses the scale property. Increasing scale creates the illusion of moving closer to the subject. Decreasing scale creates the illusion of moving away. However, professional zooms involve more than scale alone. Professional zooms often combine scale and position. This combination simulates real camera movement. When a real camera moves toward a subject, perspective changes. Simply increasing scale does not fully recreate this effect. Adding position adjustments helps create a more believable result. The speed of the zoom is equally important. Fast zooms create impact. Slow zooms create tension. The intensity of the music should determine the intensity of the zoom. A massive bass hit deserves a stronger zoom. A subtle piano note deserves a gentler movement. Consistency is critical. Every visual decision should support the music. Never add movement simply because it looks cool. Movement should have purpose. Movement should communicate emotion. Movement should support rhythm. That philosophy separates professional editing from random editing. As you continue developing your skills, remember that simplicity is powerful. Many viral edits use only a handful of techniques. Speed ramps. Zooms. Motion blur. Camera shakes. The difference is not complexity. The difference is execution. Professional editors execute simple techniques extremely well. And that is exactly what we are learning to do. Now that we understand the foundation of cinematic editing, it is time to explore the skill that separates average editors from truly exceptional editors. That skill is timing. Most viewers cannot explain why one edit feels professional while another feels amateur. However, almost every difference can be traced back to timing. Effects can be copied. Presets can be downloaded. Plugins can be purchased. Timing cannot. Timing is developed through practice. Timing is developed through observation. Timing is developed through understanding how music and visuals interact. When professional editors hear music, they do not hear a song. They hear editing opportunities. Every sound becomes a visual instruction. Every rhythm becomes a potential movement. Every transition becomes a possible cut. This way of thinking is what transforms an editor from a technician into an artist. Let's begin by understanding beats. Many beginners believe every beat should receive the same visual response. That approach creates repetitive edits. Professional editors understand that beats have different levels of importance. Some beats dominate the music. Others support the music. Think of music as a conversation. Not every word carries equal importance. Certain words carry emotional weight. The same principle applies to rhythm. Strong beats deserve stronger visual reactions. Weak beats deserve subtler reactions. One of the easiest ways to identify important beats is to focus on the bass. Bass frequencies often control the emotional energy of a song. When the bass strikes, the audience feels impact. This impact should usually be reflected visually. A cut. A zoom. A flash. A shake. A transition. Something should happen. However, not every bass hit requires a major effect. Sometimes a simple camera movement is enough. Sometimes a slight scale adjustment creates more sophistication than an aggressive transition. Professional editing often involves restraint. Knowing when not to use an effect is just as important as knowing when to use one. Now let's discuss waveform analysis. Many editors rely entirely on listening. While listening is essential, visual waveform analysis provides additional precision. When viewing an audio waveform, peaks often represent stronger sounds. Valleys often represent quieter moments. These visual clues help identify rhythmic patterns quickly. As you gain experience, you will begin recognizing song structures visually. You can often predict transitions before hearing them. This skill dramatically speeds up workflow. A useful exercise is to mute the audio and examine the waveform. Try predicting where major beats occur. Then play the music and compare your predictions. This exercise trains your eye to recognize rhythm visually. The more accurately you can predict rhythm, the faster you will edit. Another critical concept is rhythm density. Some songs have sparse rhythms. Others have dense rhythms. Sparse rhythms create space. Dense rhythms create intensity. Your editing style should adapt accordingly. A slow emotional piano track should not be edited like an aggressive trap song. An orchestral buildup should not be edited like an electronic dance track. The visuals should respect the character of the music. Professional editors adapt their editing language to the soundtrack. Now let's discuss visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy determines which moments receive attention. Imagine a sequence containing 20 cuts. If every cut receives a large zoom, nothing feels special. The audience quickly becomes desensitized. This phenomenon is called visual fatigue. Visual fatigue occurs when the brain becomes overwhelmed by constant stimulation. The solution is variation. Some moments should be quiet. Some moments should be explosive. Contrast creates emotional impact. Think of an action movie. The most exciting scene is often preceded by a calmer scene. Without the calm moment, the action would feel less powerful. Editing follows the same principle. Intensity requires contrast. Now let's examine markers in greater detail. Markers are not simply reminders. Markers are a visual map of the music. Professional editors often create different categories of markers. Primary markers represent major beats. Secondary markers represent supporting beats. Transition markers represent musical changes. Climax markers represent peak energy moments. This organizational system allows editors to understand the structure of a project instantly. Imagine editing a 3-minute cinematic montage. Without markers, you constantly search for important moments. With markers, the structure becomes immediately visible. Efficiency increases dramatically. Professional workflow is built on organization. Many beginners underestimate this reality. They focus on effects while ignoring workflow. In professional environments, workflow often determines productivity. Now let's discuss frame accuracy. A common question among new editors is whether cuts should occur exactly on the beat. The answer depends on perception. Human perception does not always align perfectly with mathematical precision. Sometimes a cut one frame before the beat feels stronger. Sometimes a cut directly on the beat feels stronger. Sometimes a cut 2 frames after the beat creates a unique emotional effect. Experimentation is essential. Do not become obsessed with technical perfection. Focus on perceived impact. Editing is ultimately judged by viewers, not software. The audience cares about feeling. The audience does not care about frame calculations. This leads us to an important concept called visual anticipation. Visual anticipation occurs when movement begins before the expected event. The audience subconsciously prepares for impact. When the beat finally arrives, the experience feels stronger. Movie trailers use anticipation constantly. A character begins turning before the musical hit. A camera starts pushing in before the dramatic reveal. The audience senses something important is approaching. This creates tension. Tension increases engagement. Engagement increases emotional investment. Now let's explore the graph editor in depth. The graph editor is one of the most powerful tools inside After Effects. Unfortunately, many editors never learn how to use it properly. As a result, their animations feel robotic. The graph editor controls velocity. Velocity determines how movement behaves over time. Imagine 2 identical zoom animations. Both begin at 100% scale. Both end at 120% scale. The values are identical. However, one zoom may feel cinematic while the other feels mechanical. The difference is velocity. A linear animation moves at a constant speed. Real life rarely behaves this way. Natural movement accelerates and decelerates. The graph editor allows us to replicate this behavior. When editing cinematic content, smooth acceleration often feels more organic. Aggressive acceleration often feels more energetic. Different situations require different approaches. Understanding velocity gives you creative control. Let's examine easing. Easing determines how an animation enters and exits movement. Easy ease is often the first step. However, easy ease alone is rarely enough. Professional editors manually adjust graph curves. This additional control creates unique motion characteristics. A steep curve creates explosive movement. A gentle curve creates graceful movement. A symmetrical curve creates balance. An asymmetrical curve creates personality. Every graph tells a story. The shape of the graph influences emotional perception. This is why professional editors spend significant time refining curves. The audience may never notice the graph. But they will notice the feeling. And the feeling is what matters. Another important principle is overshoot. Overshoot occurs when a value exceeds its target before settling. Imagine a zoom that moves from 100% to 120%. Instead of stopping immediately, it briefly reaches 123% before settling back to 120%. This subtle behavior mimics real physics. Objects often bounce slightly before stabilizing. Overshoot introduces realism. Realism increases visual quality. Many professional edits use overshoot without viewers consciously noticing. The effect feels natural because it resembles real-world movement. Now let's discuss micro-animations. Micro-animations are small movements that support larger actions. For example, a major zoom may be accompanied by a subtle rotation. A camera shake may include slight position drift. A transition may include tiny scale fluctuations. These details add richness. Think of music production. A professional song contains many layers. Some layers are obvious. Others are subtle. Editing works the same way. The strongest edits contain layers of movement. The viewer experiences complexity even if they cannot identify every element. Now let's talk about camera shake. Camera shake is one of the most overused effects in modern editing. When used properly, camera shake enhances impact. When used poorly, camera shake becomes distracting. The key is motivation. Every shake should have a reason. A punch. An explosion. A bass hit. A dramatic reveal. These events justify camera movement. Random shaking creates visual noise. Professional editors treat camera shake as seasoning. A small amount enhances flavor. Too much ruins the experience. The same philosophy applies to flashes. Flashes can emphasize impact. Flashes can create transitions. Flashes can synchronize with percussion. However, excessive flashes quickly become annoying. The goal is enhancement, not distraction. Always ask yourself a simple question. Does this effect improve the edit? Or does it merely attract attention to itself? Professional editing prioritizes the overall experience. Amateur editing often prioritizes individual effects. The difference is significant. Now let's discuss visual momentum. Momentum is the sensation that movement continues naturally through a sequence. A good edit feels like a flowing river. The viewer moves effortlessly from one shot to the next. A poor edit feels disconnected. Each clip feels isolated. Momentum is created through continuity of movement. If one clip moves left, consider introducing another clip with compatible directional movement. If one zoom pushes inward, consider maintaining that energy through subsequent shots. This does not mean every movement must match. Variation remains important. However, maintaining momentum helps create cohesion. Cohesion increases professionalism. One of the most effective ways to study momentum is by analyzing movie trailers. Watch how editors transition between scenes. Notice how movement often connects unrelated shots. A character turning becomes a vehicle transition. An explosion becomes a cut point. A camera movement becomes a bridge between locations. These techniques create flow. Flow keeps viewers engaged. Now let's examine emotional synchronization. Not every edit should prioritize rhythm. Sometimes emotion is more important. Imagine a character experiencing heartbreak. The music may contain strong beats. However, excessive cuts could undermine emotional impact. In such situations, pacing should support the story. Professional editors understand that rhythm and emotion must work together. The strongest edits achieve balance. The audience should feel the music. But they should also feel the story. That balance is one of the highest forms of editing skill. As you continue developing your abilities, remember that timing is not a formula. Timing is a language. The more you practice, the more fluent you become. Eventually, rhythm becomes instinctive. You stop counting beats. You stop analyzing every frame. You begin feeling the edit. And when you reach that stage, your work begins to evolve from technical execution into artistic expression. If there is one technique that defines modern cinematic editing more than any other, it is speed manipulation. Almost every viral movie edit, sports montage, gaming highlight, anime edit, trailer recreation, and cinematic short-form video relies heavily on speed control. When beginners first discover speed ramping, they often become obsessed with it. They start adding speed changes everywhere. Every clip becomes faster. Every transition becomes more aggressive. The result usually feels chaotic. Professional editors understand that speed ramping is not about making footage move faster. Speed ramping is about controlling attention. It is about directing emotion. It is about emphasizing the exact moment that matters most. Think about storytelling. Every scene contains information. Some information is important. Some information is less important. Speed manipulation allows us to guide viewers toward the important moments. When we accelerate through unimportant frames and slow down around important frames, we create emphasis. Emphasis creates focus. Focus creates emotional impact. That is why speed ramping is so powerful. Before touching any key frames, we must first understand how viewers perceive motion. Human eyes are naturally attracted to change. When movement suddenly accelerates, attention increases. When movement suddenly slows down, attention increases. This means that speed changes themselves create interest. However, this also means that excessive speed changes become distracting. The goal is not constant acceleration. The goal is strategic acceleration. Every speed ramp should have a purpose. Now let's examine time remapping. Time remapping is the foundation of professional speed control inside After Effects. Most speed effects are built upon this feature. Time remapping allows editors to control how footage progresses through time. Instead of playing at a fixed rate, the footage can speed up, slow down, pause, reverse, or flow dynamically. The first thing to understand is that time remapping does not create movement. It controls existing movement. If the original footage contains strong action, time remapping can enhance it. If the original footage contains weak action, time remapping has limited impact. This is why footage selection remains critical. Always begin by identifying the strongest moment in a clip. Perhaps a boxer lands a punch. Perhaps a character turns dramatically. Perhaps a race car enters a drift. Perhaps a superhero lands after a jump. Whatever the action may be, identify the exact frame where the visual impact occurs. This frame becomes the anchor point. Everything else revolves around this moment. Professional editors often spend more time locating the perfect frame than applying effects. The perfect frame determines the success of the entire speed ramp. Once the anchor frame is identified, create keyframes around it. The area before the action creates anticipation. The action itself creates impact. The area after the action creates resolution. These three stages form the foundation of effective speed manipulation. Anticipation. Impact. Resolution. This structure appears repeatedly throughout professional editing. You will find it in movie trailers. You will find it in sports commercials. You will find it in cinematic montages. The reason is simple. Human psychology responds strongly to anticipation and release. Now let's discuss acceleration. Acceleration creates energy. Acceleration creates urgency. Acceleration creates excitement. When using acceleration, avoid making changes feel mechanical. Many beginners create sudden jumps in speed. The footage immediately transitions from normal speed to extreme speed. This often feels artificial. Natural movement tends to accelerate progressively. Imagine a sports car. The car does not instantly reach maximum velocity. Speed builds gradually. The same principle should apply to your edits. Progressive acceleration feels smoother. Smoother movement feels more cinematic. Now let's discuss deceleration. Deceleration is often even more important than acceleration. Many editors focus entirely on speeding up footage. They ignore the power of slowing down. Slow motion creates drama. Slow motion creates weight. Slow motion allows viewers to absorb important visual information. Imagine a dramatic action scene. The hero performs a crucial move. The audience needs time to appreciate the moment. By slowing the footage, we increase emotional emphasis. The viewer experiences the action more intensely. This is why slow motion is used so frequently in cinema. It transforms ordinary moments into memorable moments. However, slow motion must be used carefully. If every moment is slowed down, nothing feels special. Just as constant speed ramping creates fatigue, constant slow motion creates fatigue. Contrast remains essential. Normal speed creates context. Acceleration creates excitement. Slow motion creates emphasis. Together they form a complete visual language. Now let's explore one of the most important tools available to editors. The graph editor. Many editors use keyframes. Far fewer truly understand velocity curves. Velocity is where professional quality emerges. Imagine two speed ramps. Both begin and end at the same points. Both use identical keyframes. Yet one feels smooth and cinematic. The other feels awkward and mechanical. The difference lies entirely in curve design. Curves determine how speed changes occur. Linear curves create predictable movement. Natural curves create organic movement. Professional editors spend enormous amounts of time refining curves because curves influence emotion. A smooth curve creates elegance. An aggressive curve creates power. A sharp curve creates intensity. Every curve communicates something different. Understanding these differences gives editors creative control. One useful exercise is to study real-world movement. Observe athletes. Observe vehicles. Observe animals. Observe people walking. Notice how movement accelerates and decelerates naturally. Real-world motion rarely follows perfect linear patterns. The more closely your animations resemble natural movement, the more professional they will feel. Now let's discuss speed ramp placement. A common mistake is placing speed ramps randomly. Professional editors place ramps strategically. Most successful speed ramps occur near moments of visual action. A punch. A jump. A turn. A reveal. A camera movement. These moments provide motivation for speed changes. Motivated movement always feels stronger than unmotivated movement. If viewers subconsciously understand why the speed changed, the effect feels natural. If viewers cannot understand the motivation, the effect often feels forced. Motivation is one of the hidden principles of professional editing. Now let's discuss transition speed ramps. Transition speed ramps connect clips together. Rather than emphasizing action within a clip, they help bridge separate clips. Imagine one clip ending with a fast camera movement. The next clip begins with another fast movement. A speed ramp can amplify both motions and create continuity. The audience perceives one continuous flow of energy. This technique is extremely common in trailer editing. Trailer editors often hide transitions inside motion. The viewer focuses on movement instead of cuts. As a result, the sequence feels seamless. Seamlessness creates immersion. Immersion increases engagement. Now let's explore directional motion. Direction plays a critical role in speed ramp effectiveness. Suppose a character runs from left to right. The next shot also moves left to right. The audience experiences continuity. Now imagine the next shot suddenly moves in the opposite direction. The transition may feel abrupt. This is not necessarily bad. Sometimes abruptness creates impact. However, it should be intentional. Professional editors control direction consciously. Direction influences energy. Direction influences flow. Direction influences viewer perception. Understanding directional relationships dramatically improves edit quality. Now let's discuss frame blending. Frame blending is often overlooked by beginners. When footage is slowed down, additional frames may be required. Without sufficient frames, movement becomes choppy. Frame blending helps create smoother motion. The software analyzes existing frames and generates intermediate visual information. This improves fluidity. However, frame blending is not perfect. Complex motion can create visual artifacts. Hands. Hair. Explosions. Particles. Fast-moving objects. These elements often challenge interpolation algorithms. This is where advanced tools become useful. One of the most famous tools is Twixtor. Twixtor has become a standard tool among many cinematic editors. Its primary purpose is generating smooth slow motion from footage that lacks sufficient frame data. At first glance, Twixtor appears magical. Footage suddenly becomes smoother. Motion becomes more elegant. Action becomes more dramatic. However, Twixtor is not automatic perfection. Professional results require careful preparation. Many beginners simply apply the plugin and expect miracles. Professional editors understand that quality depends on source material. Clean footage produces cleaner interpolation. Busy backgrounds create challenges. Fast motion creates challenges. Complex edges create challenges. To achieve the best results, isolate important subjects whenever possible. Masks help reduce interference. Subject separation improves accuracy. The cleaner the analysis, the better the interpolation. Now let's discuss common Twixtor mistakes. One of the most common problems is stretching artifacts. These occur when the software misinterprets movement. Arms may distort. Faces may warp. Backgrounds may smear. Whenever artifacts appear, examine the problematic area carefully. Sometimes reducing interpolation intensity improves results. Sometimes additional masking is required. Sometimes the original footage simply lacks sufficient information. Professional editors recognize these limitations. Good editing is not about forcing every effect. Good editing is about knowing when an effect serves the footage. Now let's discuss optical flow. Optical flow is another interpolation technique. Many modern applications include optical flow functionality. The goal is similar. Generate additional motion information. Create smoother playback. Improve slow motion quality. While optical flow can produce impressive results, it shares similar limitations. Complex scenes remain challenging. High-speed action remains challenging. Professional editors always inspect interpolated footage frame by frame. Never assume the software produced perfect results. Quality control remains essential. Now let's discuss Flow. Flow is one of the most popular animation tools among After Effects editors. The reason is simple. Flow simplifies curve management. Rather than manually adjusting every graph, editors can apply professionally designed motion curves instantly. This accelerates workflow significantly. However, flow should not replace understanding. Many beginners rely entirely on presets. They never learn why certain curves work. This limits growth. Presets should accelerate workflow, not replace knowledge. The strongest editors understand both technique and intention. They know when to use a preset. They know when to customize. They know when to ignore presets entirely. That flexibility creates mastery. Now let's examine one of the most powerful principles in cinematic editing. Layered speed manipulation. Most beginners apply a speed ramp and stop. Professional editors often combine multiple layers of motion. The footage speeds up. The camera zooms simultaneously. Motion blur increases. A shake effect activates. A flash appears. All of these elements occur together. The audience experiences a single unified impact. This is the secret behind many professional edits. The magic rarely comes from one effect. The magic comes from multiple effects working together. Layering creates richness. Layering creates complexity. Layering creates immersion. The audience feels more energy because multiple visual systems activate simultaneously. As you develop your editing style, remember this principle. Never judge an effect in isolation. Always evaluate it within the context of the entire sequence. Editing is not a collection of individual tricks. Editing is a system. Every movement influences every other movement. Every decision contributes to the final emotional experience. And when speed manipulation is used thoughtfully, it becomes one of the most powerful storytelling tools available to an editor. At this point in the course, we have already established timing and speed control as the backbone of cinematic editing. Now we move into something even more visually powerful. Camera motion. If timing is the heartbeat of an edit, then camera movement is its physical expression. Camera motion determines how the audience perceives space, depth, and intensity. Even the most basic footage can feel cinematic when camera movement is designed properly. Conversely, even high-quality footage can feel flat when camera motion is ignored. In professional cinematic editing, camera movement is rarely accidental. It is carefully constructed. It is often simulated inside After Effects using keyframes rather than real camera footage. This allows complete control over emotional pacing. We are no longer limited by physical cameras. We are now designing movement in a digital space. Let's begin with zooming. Zoom is one of the most fundamental cinematic tools. At its core, zoom is simply scale adjustment. However, in cinematic editing, zoom is not just enlargement. It is attention control. When we zoom in, we force the viewer to focus. We remove distraction. We intensify emotion. When we zoom out, we provide context. We release tension. We reveal environment. A single zoom can completely change emotional interpretation. For example, a character standing still may feel neutral. But when we slowly zoom in during silence, tension increases. The audience begins to anticipate something. This is psychological manipulation through motion. Now let's move into push in and pull out. Push in refers to camera movement toward the subject. Pull out refers to camera movement away from the subject. Although they seem similar to zoom, there is an important difference. Zoom changes scale. Push in and pull out simulate real camera movement in 3D space. This creates depth. Depth creates realism. Even in 2D compositions, simulating camera movement increases immersion. A push-in often creates emotional pressure. It makes the viewer feel closer to the subject. It increases intensity. A pull-out often creates emotional release. It makes the viewer feel distance. It reduces tension. Professional editors use push-in during emotional build-up. They use pull-out during resolution or reflection. Now let's discuss camera shake. Camera shake is one of the most misunderstood tools in cinematic editing. Many beginners overuse it. They believe shaking automatically makes footage look more intense. This is incorrect. Camera shake is not intensity itself. It is a reaction to intensity. In real life, cameras shake because something powerful is happening. An explosion. A punch. A sudden impact. A shockwave. Therefore, camera shake must always be motivated. If used without purpose, it becomes visual noise. Effective camera shake is subtle. It should enhance impact, not distract from it. The best camera shake is often the one viewers do not consciously notice. Now let's talk about motion blur. Motion blur is essential for realism. Without motion blur, movement appears artificial. Every fast movement in real life contains blur. Our eyes naturally perceive motion over time. In digital editing, motion blur simulates this perception. When zooming quickly, scaling quickly, or shaking camera movement, motion blur helps smooth transitions between frames. Without it, movement feels choppy and mechanical. There are two main types of motion blur in After Effects. Native motion blur and composition motion blur. Native motion blur works based on layer movement. Composition motion blur is controlled globally. Professional editors often combine both for optimal results. A common guideline is that more movement requires more blur. However, too much blur reduces clarity. Balance is key. Now let's discuss graph-based camera animation. Just like speed ramps, camera movement must follow curves. Linear camera movement feels robotic. Natural camera movement follows acceleration and deceleration. When zooming in, the camera should not move at constant speed. It should start slowly. Accelerate toward the middle. Then decelerate as it reaches the focal point. This creates emotional weight. The viewer subconsciously feels realism. Now let's explore parallax. Parallax is one of the most powerful techniques for creating depth in 2D compositions. It refers to the movement of different layers at different speeds. Foreground moves faster. Background moves slower. This creates an illusion of depth. Even a flat image becomes dynamic when parallax is applied. To achieve parallax in After Effects, separate elements into layers. For example, a character in the foreground, buildings in the midground, and sky in the background. Then animate camera position or null object movement. Each layer responds differently based on depth. This creates a three-dimensional illusion.
Parallax is widely used in cinematic anime edits, sports edits, and trailer-style montages.
Now let's discuss fake 3D camera systems. In professional motion design, editors often use null objects as camera controllers. Instead of animating individual layers, they parent all layers to a single controller.
This allows unified movement. A single keyframe can move an entire scene.
This workflow is essential for complex compositions. Without it, managing multiple layers becomes chaotic. Now let's discuss impact framing. Impact frames are extremely short visual bursts that emphasize motion. They often last only a few frames. For example, a white flash during a beat hit. Or a zoom burst during a punch. Impact frames are designed to increase perceived intensity. They act as visual punctuation. Just like punctuation in language, they define rhythm in editing. Without them, edits feel continuous but flat. With them, edits feel structured and energetic. Now let's discuss light-based transitions. Light leaks and flashes are commonly used in cinematic edits. They simulate camera exposure changes. They also create transition bridges between clips. A flash can hide a cut. A light leak can soften transitions. However, overuse reduces effectiveness. The more often they are used, the less impactful they become. Professional editors use them sparingly. Only at key moments. Now let's discuss RGB split and chromatic aberration. These effects simulate lens distortion. They separate color channels slightly. This creates a glitch-like cinematic feel. RGB split is often used in high-energy edits. It is also used in emotional breakdown sequences. However, it must be subtle. Excessive RGB separation makes footage unreadable. Now let's talk about blur transitions. Blur transitions connect two clips using motion blur. Instead of hard cuts, the image becomes blurred during transition. This creates smooth continuity. Whip transitions are a common variation. The camera moves rapidly in one direction. Then the next clip continues that motion. This creates the illusion of continuous movement. Now let's combine everything. Professional cinematic motion is never a single technique. It is a system of layered effects. Zoom. Camera shake. Motion blur. Speed ramp. Flash. All synchronized with music. When these elements align perfectly with audio beats, the result feels powerful. The viewer does not see individual effects. They feel energy. That is the ultimate goal of cinematic editing. Not to show technique. But to create emotion through motion. At this stage, we have already mastered cinematic motion inside After Effects. We understand timing, speed manipulation, and camera movement. Now we shift into a different mindset. Premiere Pro is not about visual effects. Premiere Pro is about structure. It is about storytelling. It is about efficiency. While After Effects is used to design motion, Premiere Pro is used to assemble narrative. Professional editors never treat these two software tools as separate worlds. They are part of a single pipeline. After Effects builds visual moments. Premiere Pro connects those moments into a coherent experience. Let's begin with one of the most important storytelling techniques. J-cuts and L-cuts. A J-cut occurs when audio from the next scene begins before the visual transition. An L-cut occurs when audio from the previous scene continues after the visual transition. These techniques are extremely common in film editing. The reason is simple. Human conversation does not operate in clean cuts. Real dialogue overlaps.
Real emotion carries forward.
When audio transitions smoothly between scenes, the edit feels natural. When audio cuts abruptly, the edit feels mechanical.
J and L cuts create continuity. They allow emotion to flow across visual boundaries. Now let's discuss ripple editing.
Ripple editing is one of the most efficient tools in Premiere Pro. When you trim a clip using ripple delete, the timeline automatically closes gaps.
This prevents manual repositioning. It may seem like a small feature. But in professional environments, efficiency is everything. When editing long sequences, small inefficiencies multiply. Ripple editing eliminates wasted time.
Professional editors rely heavily on shortcuts.
Speed is not optional.
Speed is required.
Now let's discuss rolling edits. Rolling edits adjust the cut point between two clips without changing overall sequence duration.
This allows precise timing adjustments. Instead of shifting clips, you refine transitions.
Rolling edits are essential when synchronizing dialogue or music beats with visuals. Now let's talk about nested sequences. Nested sequences allow editors to group multiple clips into a single container. This is extremely important for organization. When working on complex projects, timelines can become overwhelming. Nested sequences simplify structure. For example, a cinematic montage can be nested into one sequence. That sequence can then be treated as a single clip. This allows global adjustments. Color grading. Speed changes. Transitions.
All can be applied without affecting internal structure.
Now let's move into adjustment layers.
Adjustment layers are one of the most powerful organizational tools in Premiere Pro. Instead of applying effects to individual clips, effects are applied to a layer above them.
This allows non-destructive editing.
It also allows consistent visual styling.
For example, color grading can be applied across an entire sequence using one adjustment layer. Sharpening. Vignette. Contrast.
All can be controlled centrally.
This creates consistency. Consistency is a key feature of professional editing. Now let's discuss proxy workflows.
When working with high-resolution footage, performance becomes a challenge. 4K, 6K, and 8K footage can slow down editing significantly.
Proxy workflows solve this problem. A proxy is a low-resolution version of a clip. Editors use proxies during editing for smoother playback. Then switch back to full resolution for final export. This allows both speed and quality.
Professional editors always use proxy systems for large projects.
Now let's discuss audio mixing. Audio is often more important than visuals in perceived quality.
A poorly mixed video feels unprofessional even if visuals are strong.
A well-mixed audio track can elevate simple visuals. There are three main audio elements: dialogue. Music. Sound effects. Each has its own role. Dialogue should be clear and centered. Music should support emotion without overpowering. Sound effects should enhance impact. Balancing these three elements is essential. A common professional standard is dialogue at a clear audible level. Music lowered beneath dialogue.
Sound effects emphasized only during impact moments.
Compression is often used to control dynamic range. EQ is used to remove unwanted frequencies. Low-end rumble is often reduced to clean up audio clarity.
Now let's discuss pacing.
Pacing is the rhythm of the entire sequence. Even without music, pacing determines engagement. Fast pacing creates excitement. Slow pacing creates emotion. Good editors constantly adjust pacing based on narrative intent. Now let's talk about color grading. Color grading is not just aesthetic enhancement. It is emotional design. Warm tones often create comfort or nostalgia. Cool tones often create tension or isolation. High contrast creates drama. Low contrast creates softness. Professional editors use LUTs as a starting point. But they always refine manually. Automatic grading is never enough. Now let's discuss sharpening and detail control. Sharpening enhances clarity but must be used carefully. Too much sharpening creates noise and artifacts. Subtle sharpening enhances focus. Now let's discuss transitions in Premiere Pro.
Unlike After Effects, Premiere Pro transitions are often simpler.
Hard cuts remain the most powerful transition.
When used correctly, a hard cut creates impact. Other transitions such as dissolves and wipes should be used sparingly.
Modern cinematic editing favors invisible transitions. The goal is not to show the transition. The goal is to maintain immersion. Now let's discuss continuity.
Continuity refers to logical flow between shots.
Direction continuity. Lighting continuity. Motion continuity. Even emotional continuity.
When continuity is broken unintentionally, viewers feel disconnected.
Professional editors constantly check continuity. Now let's discuss storytelling structure. Even short cinematic edits benefit from structure. Introduction. Build up. Climax. Resolution.
This structure appears in almost every successful edit. Even if the video is only 30 seconds long.
Structure creates emotional journey.
Without structure, even beautiful visuals feel random.
Now let's combine everything. Professional editing in Premiere Pro is not about effects. It is about control. Control over timing. Control over pacing. Control over emotion. Control over viewer attention.
When combined with After Effects, Premiere Pro becomes the final stage of storytelling.
After Effects creates impact.
Premiere Pro creates meaning.
And when both systems work together, the result is a complete cinematic experience.
At this point in the course, you have already learned the core building blocks of cinematic editing.
You understand timing and rhythm. You understand speed manipulation. You understand camera movement.
You understand compositing principles in After Effects. And you understand structural editing in Premiere Pro.
Now we are going to connect everything into a single professional workflow.
Because in real production environments, no technique exists alone.
Everything is interconnected.
A cinematic edit is not built step by step in isolation.
It is built as a system. Let's begin with the concept of workflow hierarchy.
Professional editing always follows a hierarchy of decisions.
The first level is story. The second level is timing. The third level is motion.
The fourth level is effects.
The fifth level is refinement. Most beginners reverse this order.
They start with effects.
They then adjust motion.
Then they think about timing.
And finally, they consider story. This is why beginner edits often feel visually impressive but emotionally weak. Professional editors always begin with intent. What is the emotion of this sequence? What should the viewer feel? Excitement. Sadness. Tension. Energy.
Once emotion is defined, every technical decision becomes easier.
Now let's discuss integrated editing between After Effects and Premiere Pro.
In a professional workflow, Premiere Pro is used as the central timeline. All clips are assembled there first. Rough cuts are created. Audio is aligned. Story structure is established. Only after structure is locked do we move into After Effects. After Effects is used for shot enhancement. Not for building the entire timeline. This separation is critical. Premiere Pro handles macro structure. After Effects handles micro detail. Now let's discuss pre-visualization. Before editing begins, professionals often visualize the entire sequence mentally. They listen to the music repeatedly. They imagine where cuts will occur. They imagine where speed ramps will happen. They imagine where zooms will emphasize emotion. This mental mapping saves time later. Because once editing begins, decisions are already partially made. Now let's discuss layered composition strategy. Every cinematic moment is built in layers. Layer 1 is base footage. Layer 2 is motion. Layer 3 is speed adjustment. Layer 4 is camera movement. Layer 5 is effects. Layer 6 is color and grading. Layer 7 is sound design. When all layers align, the result feels cohesive. When layers conflict, the result feels chaotic. Professional editors constantly evaluate layer interaction. Now let's discuss synchronization architecture. Synchronization is not just beat matching. It is system-wide alignment. Visual movement aligns with audio beats. Color shifts align with emotional tone. Camera movement aligns with energy peaks. Sound effects reinforce motion. Everything must work together. If even one layer is out of sync, the illusion breaks. Now let's discuss refinement stages. Professional editing is rarely finished in one pass. There are usually multiple passes. The first pass focuses on structure. The second pass focuses on timing. The third pass focuses on motion. The fourth pass focuses on effects. The final pass focuses on polish. Each stage improves precision. Each stage reduces noise. Now let's talk about minimalism. One of the biggest misconceptions in cinematic editing is that more effects equal better results. This is incorrect. Professional edits often use fewer effects than beginner edits. But each effect is placed with intention. A single perfectly timed zoom can be more powerful than 10 random transitions. A single well-designed speed ramp can define an entire sequence. Minimalism is not lack of effort. It is precision. Now let's discuss emotional control. Every editing decision influences emotion. Fast cuts increase urgency. Slow motion increases weight. Color grading influences mood. Camera shake increases intensity. Silence increases tension. Professional editors treat emotion like a variable they can adjust. Now let's discuss audio dominance. In cinematic editing, audio often leads emotion. Even if visuals are strong, weak audio reduces impact. Sound design defines realism. Bass defines impact. Silence defines tension. Professional editors often build edits starting from audio first. Visuals follow audio structure. Now let's discuss mistake correction. One of the most important professional skills is revision. No edit is perfect on the first attempt. Common issues include overuse of effects. Weak timing. Inconsistent pacing. Poor audio balance. Lack of structure. Professional editors identify problems early and refine continuously. Now let's discuss creative identity. While technical skills are important, style matters equally. Every editor develops a signature. Some prefer aggressive high-energy edits. Some prefer smooth cinematic storytelling. Some prefer minimal emotional edits. Style emerges from repetition and experimentation. There is no single correct style. But there are principles that support all styles. Timing. Clarity. Emotion. Now let's discuss final export workflow. Export settings matter for quality delivery. Resolution should match platform requirements. Bitrate should maintain clarity. Frame rate should remain consistent. Audio should be normalized. Professional editors always check final output before publishing. Now let's summarize the entire system. Cinematic editing is not just software operation. It is not just effects. It is not just transitions.